Greetings all! Having recently acquired the Stormcast half of the Age of Sigmar Dominion box, and marvelling at some of the nice sculpts in there, I've decided to make several of these into a detachment of the Imperial Fist successor chapter, the Celestial Lions. Now, whilst I am using these for the Celestial Lions, they would actually make decent enough other chapter Blade Guard. They're real fancy and those cloaks are pretty nice. So the starting point for this model will be to remove, clean up and build the main body of one of the Praetors. Once this has been done, I took my clippers and trimmed down both the gorget area and the back of the neck, as otherwise they will restrict the choice of helmets later on, before cleaning the cuts with my knife. Once that step had been done, the back of the cloak can then be added with some plastic glue, followed by the front bit that goes over the right arm area. The seams here can be a bit of an issue, as they are at a really obvious point of the model. To hell with this, I run some extra plastic glue over the top of the seam before pressing the joint tightly together so a little bead of plastic forms along it. Hold this for a few seconds to set a little, and once this is set completely, you can then run over with the area with a knife or file to smooth it out, nicely hiding that joint. Sadly, however, I myself forgot this step until after I had painted, so there's a nice little seam right along the cloak. Ah well, I can live with it. To bring this model a little bit more into the 41st millennium, I'm going to add a holstered sidearm. This holster is taken from an assault intercessor, and the handle is from the front end of a Reaver's bolt carbine. Using some plastic glue, they can be joined together to form a heavy bolt pistol in its holster for our Blade Guard's sidearm. Before this can be added, however, some space would need to be made for it to fit around the belt, and to do this I'm going to trim away a little of the tasset on the left leg with my knife. Once this is done, I can bring in the plastic glue again and attach the holster to the waist area. With this added, I decided to prepare the area where the cloak clasps together at the right shoulder. I have this little shield from the Indomitus Captain, though ones from the Intercessors or Terminators would do just as well. And taking my clippers, I'm going to trim the back end of this flat. This will be glued in place where the current cloak clasp with the Sigmar face is later on, but before that can be done, the old one would need to be removed. Again, this was done carefully with my clippers before cleaning the area with my knife to ensure a better join, but it would not be added just yet, as the left arm would need to be in place first. And for that left arm, I have here this shield from the single Sequitur model that I use for my Master of Possession. Though the ones found in the Vindicator set work well enough, as do any spare storm shields that come in Space Marine kits, but this one has half the arm attached, which makes my job a little easier. The first thing that needs to happen to this, however, is to remove the symbol from the front. I did most of this with my knife, cutting carefully the bulk of it before scraping the area to match the curve of the shield, a process which took a rather long time. For this shield to fit properly, the forearm that is connected to the cloak bit would have to be removed from the left arm, which I did with my clippers. I had considered leaving this forearm in place and removing the one from the shield, but the angle would not be very good, so it would have to go. With the bulk of it removed, I could then assess the angle needed before clipping further so that the shield would be held at ease away from the body. Once this has been done, I could do a bit of a test fit before gluing the shield to the rest of the arm, and after taking a break and letting it set, I could then glue that in place on the body before looking to the right arm. For the right arm on the test models, I had removed the spears and used some of the swords I had removed from some evocators last year. But my intention was for this one to be the unit leader, so I went with the halberd that came with the Praetor kit. This could just be glued on as per the original model instructions. With both of the arms done, I would move on to the little shield. Whilst the parchments hanging down on this one looked nice, I felt they would make the model look a little bit too busy in this area, so a quick snip and they came off. There would be plenty of flowy parchments on this Blade Guard, what with that fancy halberd. This shield could then be glued in position in front of the right shoulder, and I could move on to the head. Now to begin with, I took a head from the Intercessor kit, which could be glued in place as is because the model has a similar neck joint. It was at this point I realised, however, that this model was not quite the same as the other two test models, because the Space Marine head didn't fit quite as well as it did on them. For now, I persevered though, and moved on to the backpack, coming back to the head a little later. Mixing together some green stuff, I squished it onto the backpack where it would join with the model, shaping it a little so it was a similar size to the pack. This backpack and green stuff could then be pushed into place on the back of the model over the cape, in a suitable area for a Space Marine pack. It can help to have a model to hand here to compare the positioning to a regular Primaris. Once this is done, it can be left overnight to harden enough to handle, and at this point the model would be done. The head on this one just didn't look quite right for me, however, so to make the head look a little less out of place, I removed the Intercessor helm and replaced it with the one that came with the Stormcast. And after some paint and some basing, here is the 3-person squad all finished up and painted in the gold of the Celestial Lions. Though not the blue of the Celestial Lions. I am slightly colourblind and lighter colours register better for me, so I've gone with a turquoise instead. The unit leader has a nice, confident, relaxed pose with her impressive halberd and larger shield. I had originally thought to put some relics and maybe skulls on the shields, but decided that the large flat surfaces could instead be reserved for the chapter icon. I have some transfer paper on its way for this, but sadly the Postal Service is a little overwhelmed right now and it has yet to arrive. And with that, I'd like to say a big thanks to all for watching. Having these Dominion models to work with has been great, as the sculpts are fantastic, and though their scale is a little off of the Primaris compared with some of the older Stormcast models, I think they still work really well, and I have a few plans for future kit bashes. But I feel in the mood for something Tau flavoured first. So until next time, stay safe and have a good one all.